Sit in an upright but relaxed position in your chair. Let your hands rest in your lap and your feet on the floor. And you can close your eyes halfway if you want to, or close them all the way if that feels more comfortable. If you're uncomfortable with your eyes closed, go ahead and leave them open. And to begin, just take 3 deep breaths in and out, in and out, in and out. Go ahead now and just breathe normally. Just let your breath come naturally. But if you can, focus your attention on your breath. Feeling it enter your nostrils, your lungs fill with air. And you can become aware of your belly, how that drives the breath. Your diaphragm and your belly rise. You breathe in. Diaphragm and your belly fall. Breathe out. And go right into the next breath. And belly rising, breathing in. Belly falling, breathing out. And just be with that breath for a moment. I was thinking today before we started how so much of mindfulness is about getting to that place of quietness. And here I am talking to help us get there. I talk sometimes because I know people have a little bit of trouble with being quiet. I think we're so accustomed to this world being so noisy. It's hard to ever find a time or a place where things are truly quiet. So that when we get there, we begin to feel a little anxious, almost uncomfortable. So you can take that time to just become comfortable with yourself and with the quiet, with the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Just riding that breath. Riding as your belly rises, as your belly falls. Feeling that up and down rhythm. And we've sometimes said you can kind of name or note what's happening. You can think breathing in, breathing out. You think feeling anxious, or think there's fear, there are thoughts, without going into a long, detailed description of them. Again, in this world where now we have phones at hand all the time, music playing, videos, busy places. Not only can we not get away from noise, we can't get away from words. Keeping those words to a few can be helpful. And that just that note of breathing in, breathing out. Thoughts. Anger. It can help us too take a step back from what we're looking at. Take a step back from that breath. especially take a step back from fear or shame or anger. We get so caught up in our stories about those things. We feel anger. We think we shouldn't be angry. We feel shame and we fall into our story of how we aren't deserving of anything. And let those words be kind of fuel for the fire of our feelings. We have that story going on all the time. It seems it's words that are the way we do that, the reason we can do it. If we just existed hearing only the sound, the train far away, the children outside our door today, what are we if we don't have a name for that? If we don't say, there's the train, there's the children's voices, now they're laughing. We become aware when we practice mindfulness and pay attention to what's going on within, not so focused on what's going on outside. First of all, we can't escape what's going on outside of us. It's entering through our bodies, through our eyes, through our ears. Smells may reach us. And then we begin naming them. So you wonder, is it even possible to just hear and perhaps appreciate laughter or the rhythm of that train without having to think about it, without putting words to it? To just let those sensations, those perceptions enter and then leave. They rise and fall just like the breath. And just like the breath, those words are initially a tool, keep focused, to be thinking in and out, in and out. Otherwise, we seem to lose track much more quickly of what we intended to do when we sat down, which was to turn our attention on ourselves and to follow that breath. And those simple names, that simple act of noting, those kind of satisfy that part of our brain that wants to narrate what's going on in our heads, in our body, outside of us, as though we're a character in a book or a movie and someone's describing everything that's happening to us. And we can begin with small things. We can begin with just the breath. See what happens if you let go of the thought of the breath, particularly of the words, I'm breathing, breathing in, breathing out. Simplify all the way down to the point where breath is just something you do with your body and something you're aware of. And you get to see that pure awareness, which is something very different than telling the story or thinking about what's going on. Just breathing and feeling that breath. And just hearing that sound. Just letting it be. You don't have to wonder where it's coming from. Even a sound can set us off Was that a knock at the door? Who could that be? What if it's the mailman with some bad news? What if it's a friend I haven't seen in a long time? And suddenly we're off to the races, thinking, wondering. You can just rest in that more clear state of being aware of things, of listening and feeling. And you can give that awareness the object of thinking, of watching your thoughts come and go. Oddly enough, as something that takes you one step back from those thoughts. We're often surprised when we do this practice. We just try and breathe in and breathe out. We hadn't realized how much talking our minds do, how many words they use up. And it's a surprise to find that. It's a surprise to find how constant and continuous that story is that we tell. And we can step back from them so that it's just like a radio or a television playing. We're hearing those thoughts. We're not necessarily taking part in the story they tell or trying to create it. We just watch them come and go, like we watch our breath come and go. Now that can be a challenge too. I don't know about you, I'm the kind of person, if there's a television on in another room, I find myself listening so that I can't even pay attention to the person in front of me who's talking. I'm wondering what's happening on that show in that other room. And perhaps that's an example of what happens when we're so busy listening to our thoughts. We can't really be present to what's happening or to other people. I'm sure you've all had that experience of listening to someone talk and you're not able to listen because you're thinking of what you need to say. Sometimes that can be out of kindness. You're looking to say something that will help them if they're sharing some difficulties. Or you may be thinking of something that you want to tell. And we've all talked to those people that you can tell they're not listening to a word you're saying. That that's all they're thinking about is what's the next thing they can say that shows how funny or smart they are, and how unsatisfying that is to not be heard. And it can ultimately be unsatisfying to not hear. Think of how much we miss in a day because we're too busy off thinking, kind of thinking in the corner and missing everything that's happening. You may think you will grow bored quickly, as you find with something as simple as the breath. These things are kind of a revelation if you haven't paid attention to them. The breath, that sound of children, the wind swirling around your ears, all of those things can make a day full and anything but boring. So you don't need to make that judgment either with words. That's how it enters into our mind too. I don't like this sound. I'm bored of sitting here trying to watch my breath. I'll never be good at this. You begin to see how much of your thoughts are judgment of yourself, of others, sometimes judgment of the whole world. So you can just give yourself over to your perceptions. let the thinking go on. You may find it grows a little quieter or runs itself out. Kind of like that person who wants to speak over you. If you're not listening, if no one's listening to them, they start to lose that urge, that urgency to talk, and they can even grow quiet. And you'll find that it allows you to go through what's a loud and busy world, demanding our attention all the time, with sounds and sights and words swirling around us. But letting go of that description, of that judgment, lets us just meet the world directly. And we meet it more calmly. We're the calm point in the midst of all that movement. Like a top that spins, we're the point in the center that doesn't move, that allows it to keep balance. You can be that calm in the storm, that calm in the hubbub of sounds, like the loudness of the marketplace or being at a football game. Even in those places, you can find the calm. You can find your own quiet. So try that for the next few days. If you do your mindfulness, see what it's like if you just let go of those words and those judgments. And perhaps you can even notice as you go about your day. Take time to stop and notice for a moment. Are you talking to yourself about what's going on almost constantly? And what happens if you let that go? And just return to awareness and experience. Just feeling with the body, that belly rise as you breathe in, where your breath swells, crests, the belly begins to fall and you breathe out. It's really quite a wonderful thing to watch, to feel and be a part of. Right now, we'll take 3 deep breaths. I'll let you take them and let you end in silence without the words describing those breaths.